See what's inside. Yeah, there's a little bit of cardboard in there. Alright, so I am driving to Rochester today to go photograph some wrestling. Saw a huge hand in your face right there. Okay. So I'm driving to Rochester to shoot some wrestling. It's Upstate Pro Wrestling. It's just a small indie. They run out of a bar. It's pretty cool. And so I've been shooting with a wrestler named Chris Worthless for the last year and a half, about. So Chris is going to Germany to train, and this is going to be his last show for a while. So he's going to train with WXW, and potentially, hopefully, he's going to make it to an All Japan training seminar in the UK while he's over there. So just take an opportunity to get some pictures of Chris and hopefully get hooked up with another wrestler. So while he's gone, I can make some pictures, because the Industry Standard show that's happening in March, that's going to be like an issue release party, but that issue is not going to have any pictures of Chris in it. So trying to work on like a new focus for that work. I find it's way easier to just focus on one guy, because then you can just, it's easier to tell a story that way, I think. Because I'm constantly worried that I'm just making like action shots. Not that action shots aren't cool, but I just want to have a little more depth, maybe a little more variety. While driving, I'm going to talk about some other things relative to, what I'm working on. I've been doing a lot with cardboard the past couple of weeks. So the cardboard functions in a bunch of different ways. I think, the primary way that it works, I'm very focused on, the conceptual nature of the work and, what's the story behind the work. Anytime I'm looking at photography, like I'm always trying to figure out like, okay, what is this about? What is the story here? How do all the elements fit into telling that story? I, of course, also understand that, some work and some choices are purely aesthetic. But even if it's not an intended story, I'm trying to always piece it together. So the way that the cardboard works conceptually, Inverted Mountain, there are a lot of narrative elements of like a willful disillusionment, or of a negative purification, like a negative purifying process, within society, within like cultural institutions, things like that. So cardboard, it's a contaminant. It is against stability. It is against, archivability. In the art world, cardboard is seen as a very negative thing. Like, it can destroy artwork. I think it's a chemical in it called lignin, or it's the glue or something like that. So it is kind of a quiet, destructive object. And, I think that really plays into that story of, Inverted Mountain, it is like the anti-purgatory. I mean, that's kind of what the name means. So, the cardboard the cardboard is honestly pure destruction in terms of what it can do to photographs, or any archival material or things like that. But, it is also, it's garbage. I mean, to put it bluntly, I think that the way the cardboard is perceived is as garbage being put up on the wall. And that plays a little bit into an image people have of me as, due to the intensity of the way that I deal with photographs, that people see it as being against photography, or, oh, he hates photography. Which I don't, honestly, but, I'm fine with playing with that character. So the cardboard deals with the images in kind of the same way that people think about me as dealing with images, as like destroying the image, which is, I mean that relative to the heavy grain, or, I don't dust spot my images, when I scan them. So there's, there is a disrespect to tradition that I think comes with this, that contributes to that kind of rebellious character, right? So the other aspect of putting the cardboard on the wall is that it acknowledges difference. I think that there's a lot of modern art, contemporary art, that focuses a lot on purity, cleanliness, and simplicity, the tenets of a fascist ideology. When you think about, in terms of a society, cleanliness, congruence, simplicity, everything being the same, there's no rough edges to anything, there's nothing rocking the boat, there's nothing acknowledging, that there are other ideologies, that there are other ways of life, that there are other identities. So by combining the gallery wall with what is essentially its binary alternative, garbage, and by having them play off of each other, it's part of a political approach to presenting art and to making art. I think that my work really is political, but it would be impossible to say that I make political photographs, especially, the distance that I have from documentary styles. Even when I'm photographing wrestling, like, it's not documentary in a pure sense. So the idea is to present the work in a way that is politically charged. If it was just the gallery wall, it would be, a pure palette. Even if it was just cardboard with no visual of the gallery wall, it would be purity. So it's like you have to have both to be able to create a conversation, and it's not that conversation is supposed to be driven specifically in a gallery wall versus garbage, concept. It's just the idea that there is a multiplicity of, ideologies, identities, concepts, and that it's not one-dimensional. So that's part of the idea of the cardboard, is to, in one way, get away from the wall. A lot of the images are going to be on the cardboard. Much fewer of them are going to be on the gallery wall. So in one sense, it's championing I guess it's kind of like an underdog identity, where, obviously the gallery wall in most people's mind is going to be seen as higher ideologically than garbage, which is going to be seen as lower ideologically. So I'm trying to acknowledge both, because you have to acknowledge both in order to have a criticism, in order to have a conversation. I'm not saying you need to agree with both sides of an argument, but you have to acknowledge the other side of an argument to have one, right? So because I'm placing the images more on the cardboard than the wall, I am kind of championing the lowbrow aesthetic, or the way that I think about it, transformatively, that the cardboard is the alternate identity that is suppressed, right? As being a lowbrow concept, And, beyond those, lofty academic interpretations of what the cardboard does, I mean, to be honest, it's also just an aesthetic difference maker, I think it's important for me to keep in mind that this work is being shown in Syracuse, which is a blue-collar town. It is not necessarily like the highest academic art audience. Obviously, there is Syracuse University in town, and there is a big photo program, big studio arts program. Syracuse University is only one aspect of the city. But my point is, for an uninitiated, casual art audience, the conceptual nature of work doesn't necessarily matter as much as the aesthetic nature of work. So, in that sense, visually, the cardboard just makes me stand out. I think it's very striking because of the contrast between the cardboard and the wall. I think it's just something that catches people's eye. It's memorable. When I say that the cardboard is a difference maker, I mean that it makes me stand out as a different kind of artist. So if everybody was doing what I did, that would be terrible for me because then I wouldn't be able to stand out. So it's almost to my benefit to have an institution like Lightwork operating in a little bit more of a, straight-laced photographic style, because then I'm more memorable by comparison. Maybe to some people it's not beneficial to be the black sheep, but I always say that sticking out, standing apart, is always to the benefit of, really anybody doing anything creative. And a third thing that I think about with, just the look of the cardboard itself, disregarding the images, disregarding the wall, they're large-scale collages. Like what I've been doing the past couple of weeks is, creating these collaged sheets of different pieces of cardboard. I've been doing it in sheets just to make installing easier, because I only have like a day and a half to actually put all this stuff up, which is a little bit crazy. So I'm just trying to make it as easy on myself as possible. But I really think about them more almost as paintings. I think online I've referred to them as sculptures, but I mean really I think about them as large-scale paintings, especially in almost a kind of abstract expressionist way. I love looking at abstract expressionist paintings in person just because of their extreme dominant power that they exude. And I think it's pretty obvious that in terms of pictures, in terms of art, I love intensity. I think that it's really enjoyable to see super intense work. I just love full flavor, I guess. And like I was saying a minute ago about, fascist ideologies in artwork, I mean, abstract expressionism is kind of like the peak of American fascist aesthetic. Or maybe not fascist, but, conservative political work, especially, in like Jackson Pollock's connection to like the CIA and, as a political cultural export, as, the height of dominant Americanism. A lot of critics, historians have drawn comparisons between abstract expressionism and a demonstration of the might of American culture. And I think that power is really present, when you see an abstract expressionist painting in person, especially a huge one, it really is dominating in almost kind of a sadomasochistic way, where, you feel overpowered by those paintings. And I don't necessarily think the cardboard operates on that same level, but I think it does create an atmosphere of, it creates a greater dominating atmosphere, especially, when the cardboard gets very big, it gets more, it creates an overwhelming atmosphere because of the continuity between some of the pieces of cardboard. To some people it might be confusing to see cardboard in this context or presented in this way. But also, because of the way the pieces are collaged together, it really is kind of like a painting, where it's just blocks of brown of different tones. And I think it's kind of beautiful.